Welcome back to our Telecommuting for Success series. I'm here today with Rebecca Turner. Rebecca Turner is an associate at Dr. Kate Truitt and Associates, and we are so blessed to have her with us. And Rebecca is also the expert on our team when it comes to chronic pain and chronic illness. She leads our neurofeedback program. She leads our chronic pain, chronic illness groups, and really she, more deeply than anybody I've ever met in my entire life, understands the role of inflammation and stress and how the mind and body function. So Rebecca, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'm delighted that you're here. And as we talked about, I really wanted you to come in and say, okay, give us some tips on how do we work from home if we have chronic pain or chronic illness, because wow, this is stressful.
Yeah.
And
it's stressful. Well, and we know, like you were just saying, we know that stress has a strong impact on our body. Stress isn't just an emotional experience, it's a physical experience too. So this transition to working from home has been challenging for everybody, but it also has some added complexities for those who are managing and working with chronic illness and chronic pain. So I do have about 5-6 ideas, things that we could kind of walk through.
I would love that.
Yeah, I want to just launch right in.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I'm noticing with my clients, especially those who have back pain or neck tension or shoulders, being on the screen all the time, is that they're just getting a lot of flares. And yet there's this pull to be compulsively engaged in the work that they're doing, this hyper productivity component that a lot of people are noticing. What do you recommend for that?
So I say, first and foremost, honor your body. Treat it like it belongs to someone you love. And if your body is telling you it's time for a break, it probably is time for a break. So something that we can try out is even 3 to 5 minute micro breaks. And you could set a timer on your phone, on your watch, and just take these 3 to 5 minute micro breaks to do something different. Stand in the sun, look outside, do some deep breathing, some gentle stretching, letting your eyes focus on something farther away, which is especially important as we're spending all of this time on screens.
Yeah, and I notice you're wearing your glasses. I am not. The blue light glasses are huge.
Yeah.
Play a very important role. Now, when you say 3 to 5 minute breaks, are you saying every 3 to 5 minutes take a micro break? Because I feel like that would disrupt flow. Not a lot would get accomplished.
No, that would definitely not work for me either. So an idea for that is to pace yourself and take scheduled breaks, even if that's not something that you've done before. So boundaries around time can become so much fuzzier as we're working from home.
Definitely.
So this creates an opportunity to create a daily schedule. And when you create a daily schedule, there's actually an opportunity to put in breaks for movement, breaks for rest, breaks for eating, micro breaks. And
like breaks for eating, who does that?
Well,
for rest, who does that?
That would be great. Maybe we would be a little bit more productive and a little bit less exhausted.
Okay, so say more about that, because I feel like that's such a human tendency.
Yeah.
Is to say, I need to be glued to my laptop, my computer, I need to be constantly on my phone, wherever it is. But what you just alluded to is that actually can decrease productivity.
Yes. So it takes a ton of energy to sustain attention or creativity or problem solving. That takes a huge amount of energy for our brain to create those faster brain waves that underlie problem solving and focused attention. And also just for our body, you are often maybe we're hunched into a specific position. Sometimes I notice if I'm really focused on something that I'm creating or writing, I'll forget to breathe. So I'll either be holding my breath in or my breath out. Both of those make it very hard for the body to bring in oxygen and release any of the toxins in our body. So what we see when we stay hyper focused is that we actually deplete our energy batteries much more quickly, and it makes it hard for our brain to be productive.
Huh.
Yeah.
And I know specifically as everybody's moved to these online platforms, and doing the Brady Bunch meetings now, There's a lot of really compelling literature that's coming out, and Dr. Andrew Huberman up at Stanford has his
Mm-hmm.
podcast where he's been talking about this too, about what's called the Zoom concussion.
Yeah, digital concussion, totally.
Yeah, we're calling it the
Yeah.
Zoom concussion now.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And the micro processing that we're having to do because we don't have the nuances of the mirroring that we have in person.
Mm-hmm.
So the task level for our system goes up exponentially as well.
And I think that data is so important to have because we may not think it's all that different to be handling a day full of meetings on our computer as opposed to maybe a mix of computer and phone and in person before COVID-19 occurred. But it actually is. And it makes a big difference on our energy level and just everything that our brain is having to quantify and make sense of. All those micro interactions, like you were saying.
And so when somebody has chronic pain or chronic illness, how does this impact them differently? I have to imagine it does.
Yeah. With chronic pain and chronic illness, we're always thinking about our energy, right? And how our body is able to adapt to these changing circumstances. And I think this is a really important reason for bringing in those micro breaks, but also for pulling in your support system.
Mm-hmm.
So letting the people who care about you know the plans that you've put into place for how to manage your energy, your illness, your conditions while working from home. Ask them to check in with you. Maybe they can support you or help you in a certain way. And they might even be able to hold you accountable. Because I also know that I struggle with boundaries around time and all the things that we've been talking about. So the people that care about us can help us be accountable to these things.
Mm. So almost setting up a plan around self-care, maybe the self-care we did prior to March, April, May, looks like we're going into July, August, probably longer is my hypothesis of this. And then inviting the people that we love to help us keep that plan in place. Maybe perhaps, gentle knock on the door. Hey, we're coming up at 7:00. We talked about walk at 6:30. Or, hey, let's do we do a lot of havening. Let's do some havening together coming out of this to help the system calm down and set shift. But really inviting another.
Yeah, I think an additional factor that is applicable for some and not for others, but if it is applicable and appropriate, you might consider talking to a supervisor, the person who's supervising your work. You're not required to share any details about any condition with a supervisor. That is not
they're not allowed to even ask.
Right, they're not required. But if you think it would be applicable and helpful, you can touch base with your supervisor about ways to manage your workload and your performance. And a helpful thing can be to actually present to the supervisor ways that you think you can be supported in order to complete your work effectively. That could be taking breaks, flexible hours, or even having regular check-ins to evaluate how things are going and to make sure you're still doing as well as you want to be doing.
And I love that because it's also showing ourselves that we have agency and that we're prioritizing our own well-being, which frankly our brain really loves when we have our own back. So that in of itself decreases stress and cortisol levels and enhances resiliency. Just that simple act of saying, hey, here's what I need to be my best self. Can you help me put this into place?
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming out and sitting with me today. These are definitely some tasks I'm going to put into place, and I know you already do hold me accountable to some of these boundary components regarding time and overworking. So thank you for that as well.
My pleasure.
And I know we will speak with you again in the future because you are just a wealth of incredible information. As I mentioned, Rebecca runs our neurofeedback program, which right now is completely home-based. She manages the treatment process through the cloud, which is incredible. And so if you're noticing that your attention and your concentration are starting to get a little fuzzy, your brain's not being its best self, neurofeedback is a really lovely way to shift you back into brain functioning. But if you have some downtime right now and you want to help your brain heal or become an even better version of itself, this is also a great opportunity to do some neurofeedback.
Mm-hmm. You could easily do a consult.
Yep. Give her a call.
Yep.
And Rebecca, we'll talk with you soon. Thank you.